Hey guys, my name is Naguura, and today I'm going to be talking about my history in World of Warcraft, like my raiding history and what I've been doing. Because lots of people always ask like which guilds I've been in and what kind of welfares I've gotten and so on. So I figured I'm just going to do this video so I can refer people to this and just put it all in one video. But yeah, let's start all the way at the beginning. I started playing WoW when I was 14 years old in vanilla back then, but it was mainly my brother who started playing. We only had one PC, and I would just like sit next to him, watch him play. Whenever he wasn't home, I was playing, and it was an interesting experience. But I really found my love for the game in definitely a more casual sense. It took me forever to level. I was just questing, doing that kind of stuff. But my brother was a raider, and sometimes when he was not there for a raid, I would join in for him. Like I would do Molten Core, Blackwing Lair, Anki-Rai. We never did Nextramas. And yeah, so that was kind of how it all started. I did play a Holy Paladin, and my brother also played a Holy Paladin, and I also had a warrior as well. I did end up doing a little bit of PvP as well. I think I ended up getting like rank 9 in PvP or something. But yeah, I'm just playing a little bit of casually PvE and PvP. And then Burning Crusade came out, and my brother stopped playing. And a lot of my IRL friends stopped playing as well that were playing in vanilla. But I didn't want to stop playing. Like, I love this game so much. So I continued to play. And just even, I remember just seeing this, like the cinematic of Illidan and Burning Crusade and this whole thing where he like jumps up and like, you're not prepared or whatever. And it's just, I don't know, like I just got goosebumps and it's like, this is my game. I need to play this. So I ended up playing myself in Burning Crusade, starting in a pretty casual guild. But we did end up clearing all the raids, even Sunwell as well, in Burning Crusade. And I remember that I kind of found my love for competitive raiding and kind of the drive to become better and to be better as a player and also be in like better guilds as I started playing in Burning Crusade. And as I was raiding in German guilds back then because my first language is German and my English is, or it used to be really bad because it was my third language. My first language is German and the second language is Italian because I live in Italy. So yeah, my English was just not good. So I ended up raiding on German servers all the time. And then I would, whenever my guild would disband or things would fall apart, I would always try to look for a guild that is slightly better in the rankings, in the world rankings. I never made like a huge step, I would say. Like I never ended up joining a top 10 guild from a top 500 guild or something. I would always kind of make smaller steps over the years and years and years that I played. And so then when Wrath of the Lich King came around, I remember I kept playing Holy Paladin, but I also played a little bit of Resto Druid and Moonkin, and even Feral. I remember playing Feral on Lich King, and the guild that I was in got Realm First on Lich King, and also Realm First Yoxaron Zero Lights, which again just boosted my kind of competitive sense, and that I just want to get better. When it really all started happening was Cataclysm, I think, when I ended up being in a guild again that kind of not really disbanded, but didn't have enough players to play 25 man. So we ended up playing 10 man in Firelands. And what happened was that we ended up reaching Ragnaros in Firelands as the third guild in the world. Even though it was 10 man, the other two guilds that reached the boss first was Paragon and Method in 25 man, and we reached Ragnaros in 10 man. And when we saw Ragnaros like step out of the lava, there was this like amazing moment where I realized, oh my god, I'm one of the few people in the world who have seen Ragnaros step out of the lava. And it was like this amazing moment. And I was like, okay, I wanna do this. I wanna join the race to Wolfers. I wanna win. I wanna kill this boss as like the first in the world. So I ended up joining. After all of this, I ended up joining a guild called Irae Aode, which was like a top 10 German guild. But that guild disbanded, like at the end of Firelands. So the only step up, or one of the few step ups I could make in the German kind of area, was joining the best German guild, which was the guild called For the Horde. I think that name might be familiar to some people that played back then. So I joined for the Horde. And unfortunately, that guild disbanded in Dragon Soul because there was this whole thing in Dragon Soul where a lot of guilds got banned for exploiting an LFR thing, myself included, unfortunately. So yeah, that guild disbanded because Dragon Soul was a bad tier, people got banned, and the raid itself was also not great. So yeah, For the Horde disbanded. And now I was in a situation where, okay, where do I go now? Because I was in the best German guild, and the only way to move up in the rankings would be joining an English speaking guild or go and join like a lower ranked guild than For the Horde. So I was really unsure what to do because my English was that bad, and I was like, oh my god, I don't really want to speak English. And I was even playing with German client, so that's how little English I heard or had to do with when I was playing WoW. But then a bunch of friends who were playing in For the Horde, they also applied to Method, and they kind of convinced me. It's like, Naguura, come, let's join Method. We're gonna help you out with the English and whatnot. It's gonna be fine. So I was like, okay, fine. So I applied to Method. We all got accepted, and it was this time where Method went from Alliance to Horde. So I ended up joining Method at the end of Cataclysm, and I passed my trial pretty quickly, actually, as a Resto Druid. And then MOP came around, and we got world first in the first raid of MOP, which was Mogushan Vaults. And yeah, I was just like on top of the world, I had this amazing feeling of getting world first. And I don't know, like I was just, I can't describe how amazing it felt to get world first. It was just insane. Then we ended up losing Heart of Fear, actually, to Blood Legion, unfortunately. But we won Shao of Fear again, the 20-minute boss fight. So we won the whole tier world first. And yeah, I was, again, this amazing feeling. I don't know, I can't describe. It was just awesome. I ended up playing Moonkin on some boss fights and Resto Druid on others. So I was doing this hybrid kind of role. And then the next raid came out, which was Throne of Thunder. And Throne of Thunder was an amazing raid. I loved everything about Throne of Thunder. We won again. We got world first on Lei Shen. And Lei Shen was such an amazing fight. And again, I just had this amazing feeling of getting world first. And I was just so happy. But something happened after Lei Shen, after Throne of Thunder. Kind of had lost motivation, which was weird, I think, because I had this competitive drive to become better and better, and then I ended up getting world first a few times, and then I lost motivation. This was really weird to me. But now, thinking back to it, I think what happened was that I had this goal in my mind, this like huge goal to get world first. And then when I ended up getting world first, I kind of didn't have a goal anymore, I guess. Like there was nothing to strive for anymore, because I had achieved the greatest thing that you could achieve in PvE, at least in my mind, right? So I guess the kind of goal was gone, and that's why I lost motivation. So what happened was that I quit playing the game for a year. I didn't do SOO. I played Hearthstone a lot. I started streaming, played a lot of League of Legends as well. Ended up getting Masters in League of Legends, by the way, which I thought was pretty cool. But then after a while, I just realized I want to play WoW again. And it was the start of Worlds of Draenor. So at the start of Worlds of Draenor, I started playing WoW again. I asked Method if I can join again, but they didn't have a spot for me because between MOP and Worlds of Draenor, they reduced the raid size from 25 men to 20 men. And that meant that, Method had a really big roster for 25 men, and then it went to 20 men, and then I wanted to join additionally, and they just had way too many members. So they said, no, they don't have a spot for me right now, but they'll let me know if they have a spot. And they definitely won't have a spot for the first raid for High Mall, they said. But then maybe after High Mall, we can talk again, right? But then I decided, I don't want to sit around. I want to join a different guild to raid in the meantime. I joined a German guild, and I ended up doing a little bit of raid leading there as well. But the guild ended up disbanding at the last boss on Margok, because the guild wasn't very healthy and was kind of just like a new guild. So it ended up disbanding, and a lot of the people who were playing that German guild ended up joining a guild called Envy, which was a English-speaking like top 5 guild back then. And I joined Envy for the end of Heimel and for Blackrock Foundry. And then what happened during Blackrock Foundry was that Methods had whispered me if I want to join them for the last boss, for Blackhand. And it was the middle of progression, and I was like not sure, like leaving Envy in the middle of progression is obviously like a really scumbag move to do. But I was in this position where I knew Methods, like getting into Method is not that easy, right? They're literally the world first guild, and if I don't like accept this opportunity now to be raiding with them again, with my friends as well, which I had been raiding with for years before, I was thinking, okay, this might be like my one and only opportunity again to join them again, because they have a spot for me now as a Moonkin for Blackhand. And so I just decided to do it, which was for sure a scumbag move, and I'm sorry to all the players who were playing in Envy back then. I'm very sorry. I hope you've forgiven me since then that I left you in the middle of progression. I'm very, very sorry. But yeah, I ended up joining Methods for Blackhand, and we ended up getting well first on that boss too. So that was a little bit of mixed feelings here. You know, I was happy getting well first, and I was happy being back in Method. But yeah, leaving Envy was obviously not that nice. But yeah, then I was in Method again. I stayed with them for the next tier 2, which was Hellfire Citadel. And we ended up getting world first again in Hellfire Citadel 2. And I played Moonkin throughout that tier again. Hellfire Citadel was probably the best raid I have participated in a race to world first in. It was just such a good raid. I loved it. I loved most of the bosses. I loved Archimond. It was the most difficult boss in the game until then. Obviously there are much more difficult bosses now, but yeah, Archimond was this difficult boss. We had wiped 470 times or whatever, which was insane. We had never wiped on a boss that many times before, and yeah, it was again this awesome feeling of getting well first, and I was just really, really happy. And then unfortunately the guild kind of split apart. Some players ended up forming another guild called Serenity, while some players kept the name Method, but joined a different guild and kind of merged with them. It was Skull, Roger Brown, and I think Perfecto, who joined Rapid Eye Movement and renamed them into Method, and then just rebuilt Method as a guild, while everyone else joined Serenity, myself included. And then Legion came around, and Serenity unfortunately did not win world first. We got world second overall. So it was Emerald Nightmare, Trial of Valor, and Nighthold. And I think the guild had so much potential because there were so many good players in there, and we even got world first. Like, we reached Gul'dan as the first guild in the world. We killed Star Augur world first, which was back then the boss set to be the hardest boss ever created for Enrage. So the hardest like DPS check boss that ever got created back then. It's definitely nowhere near as hard as some Enrage bosses are now, but back then it kind of was considered that. And then we got well first on Elisand as well. And then unfortunately we lost Gul'dan. We had lots of issues with players, with attendance, like people not being able to raid that much. Just generally not having a lot of players. I think we only had like 21 players or something in total, which we just had lots of issues. And then unfortunately after Nighthold, the guild disbanded because everyone in there was incredibly competitive, and not winning a tier was just like, and additionally to that we also had issues in the guild as well. So yeah, the guild disbanded, and when that happened I kind of didn't know what to do. I was in this situation where I was a streamer and also World First Raider, but back then the race to World First was not streamed ever, and it was all the secret thing, and sometimes I couldn't stream for like months, which was my only income back then. So not being able to stream for that long was definitely a downside. So I was thinking about maybe not continuing to do World First and just focus on streaming, but I definitely would have joined a World First guild if I had the opportunity, I think. But the problem was, obviously, like with Serenity disbanding, there were so many good players who now all wanted to join Method, because the three guilds that were competing for Race the World First back then was Method, Serenity, and Exorcist. And Exorcist is a Russian-speaking guild. So with Serenity disbanding, the only other English-speaking World First guild was Method. So everyone in Serenity kind of went to Method. It's like, hey, do you have a spot for me, right? I did as well. But yeah, they ended up just not being able to invite all of the players, because obviously they had a lot of players themselves. So they didn't really have a spot for me. They said, maybe in the future, blah, blah, blah. But I was like, nah, you know what? I'm not like super motivated to do World First anymore. Like, I definitely was not completely done with it. But I felt like I'm not as motivated to just do the same thing as I did before. Like joining a different guild, waiting for them to have a spot again and then join them. Like I didn't want to do that again. So I ended up just deciding, you know what? I'm going to focus on streaming. And back then, because no one had streamed the Race to World First, I was thinking it would probably be a pretty cool idea to create a guild that focuses on streaming progression. So myself and Slootbag, we kind of decided to join forces and create a top 10 guild, not a Race to World First guild, but like a progression guild that it should be like top 10, top 20, and then stream our progression, which would have been like one of the first guilds that does that streaming progression. So we created Future, and I think some of you maybe know that Future maybe was not the greatest like project. What ended up happening is that we invited a lot of really good players. Like Future had so many good players, but we never ended up achieving our goals. Like we always ended up getting like top 25 or whatever when we were raiding 7 days a week and doing split raids and all this stuff, and we just never achieved our goals. I think a big problem was that everyone was just kind of focused on their own thing. It was basically a lot of individually good players put together without any sort of proper, I don't want to say leadership, but we didn't have any proper like organization when it came to everything. Everyone just kind of looked at, like, focused on their own thing, focused on their own stream, focused on their own performance, and no one really put a lot of time and effort into like figuring out strategies, looking what other guilds are doing those strategies, that kind of stuff. So it was like a lack of leadership, I would say. So I did try my best, and Sloot tried his best as well, obviously. Sloot, kind of tried to raid lead, I tried to raid lead, and it was just a big task for us to stream and do this at the same time, this whole project. I just ended up never having time for anything, really. And I think Sloot was kind of the same, like just having very little time to focus on the guild stuff while also doing our own thing. So yeah, that ended up not being something I wanted to continue. So I ended up leaving after BOD. I was like, okay, I'm done with all of this like 7-day raiding thing. Either I want to raid well first, or I want to raid in a guild that clears the raid but doesn't raid like 7 days, right? I just wanted to put as little time as possible into raiding while still achieving as much as possible during those few hours, if I'm not going to be in a guild that literally ends up getting well first. So I ended up trying some different things. I even joined an American guild, ended up raiding at 6 a.m. in the morning my time, which was a horrible experience. Oh god, yeah, I never want to do that again. And then I joined the German guild called Advance, which was a 2-day raiding guild that ended up being, like around World 100 most of the time, which was pretty good. I actually really enjoyed being in that guild. But then that guild disbanded, unfortunately. And then I joined Mist, which is the guild I'm in right now, a 3-day raiding guild. And unfortunately, we still haven't killed the jailer. And we're gonna end up getting World 200 or whatever. But it is what it is. So basically, after the TLDR is, after Serenity and after Future, I kind of just wanted to take a step back, kind of focus on my stream. I'm not really super motivated anymore to do like be super competitive. I also think I'm I'm incredibly washed up as well. Like I've played this game for so long. Used to be like so competitive, had such a drive in me to become better. Like I had this drive to just like everything needs to be perfect and I need to min-max everything and research everything, and every small mistake had to be like somehow like looked into and analyzed and blah blah blah. But yeah, that kind of motivation, that kind of drive is gone now. It's not that I don't enjoy doing high-end content anymore, because I really do, but I just really want to focus more on like having fun, streaming, talking to my community, just hanging out with friends, just having a good time in general, without this like super insane competitive drive that I used to have. So in addition to that, I do think I'm definitely just washed up, right? I don't think I'm as good of a player anymore as I used to be. The game got harder as well, for sure, over the years, like every game does. I'm by no means like a horrible player, as some people want to believe. And I'm sure there's a lot of comments on this YouTube video as well, where people kind of want to diminish my achievements from the past, saying that I got carried all the time. I do think that whenever I got those world first kills and whenever I was in those good guilds, I was a good player, for sure. Like, I belonged there. And I can say that with confidence. Like, I belonged in those guilds. I was a good player. I managed to get those world first because I belonged there. No one just carried me along and just like pitted me to invite me, or no one invited me because I'm a girl or whatever. I was in Method and I was in Serenity because I passed my trial because I was good enough. And that is a fact, okay? Yeah, that's it. Nowadays, I'm just vibing playing the game. I also like playing different games nowadays, just like checking out different kind of stuff. I really enjoyed playing Final Fantasy XIV. I still think that whenever there's a project in FF14 that I kind of want to do that as well. I enjoyed Lost Ark, want to go back to that as well. Still like League of Legends, unfortunately. Like games like TFT as well. And yeah, I'm just like a normal gamer, like everyone that is watching probably. I don't think I'm anything special anymore nowadays. But I did achieve those things in the past and I'm proud of it. So I wanted to make a video. And that's all, okay? One thing I wanted to mention is that I did participate in MDI, the very first one. I played in a group with Now and Speed and Twice and Kina. Unfortunately, we got disqualified after literally the first game because there was no loser bracket back then, so we just lost our first game and we were gone, which was a bit unfortunate. Either way, I did participate in that first MDI, and then afterwards I got approached by Blizzard and they asked me if I want to cast. And I was incredibly nervous to cast. And I know a lot of people like really, really hate on like my casting. And I understand where people are coming from, because I do, obviously, like my English is not perfect. English is not my first language. So whenever I'm casting, there's definitely times where I don't know how to like word things properly, or I'm not thinking or can't think of a word or whatever. So I think people are bothered by that. Then people are bothered by my game knowledge. People think I don't know enough about the game to be casting the MDI. And I think I've played the game enough, and I still play the game enough to know what I'm talking about. And yeah, that is something I very heavily disagree with. I'm confident enough to say that when I'm casting an MDI, I definitely know what I'm talking about. So if you disagree with that, then maybe you don't know what you're talking about. Like, I don't know. I've been playing this game for my whole life, and I'm still playing a lot, and I'm putting a lot of effort into my casting as well. Like, I'm researching a lot, I'm looking things up, like I'm trying to do the best I can. And especially at the start when I started casting, I was incredibly self-conscious. In case you guys don't know me, I'm really socially awkward and like socially anxious and all those kind of things. So when I had to be in the studio and there was these cameras on me, and I know as a streamer you should kind of be used to that, but it's not the same thing because I'm sitting in my room in my home and there's a camera, there's no people, so it's not the same. But when I was casting for the first time, I was definitely incredibly nervous and anxious and all that. And then when people were kind of like shit-talking me after the first couple of times that I was casting, I just felt horrible, you know, like people were talking shit about the way I look, people were talking shit about the way I talk, the way I speak, the way I articulate, people were saying that I don't know what I'm talking about, and blah, blah, blah. And it was like this horrible thing where I already felt kind of bad about my performance because it was the first time casting and I was nervous about it and stuff. And I definitely thought I didn't do that good of a job either. And then having so many people kind of talk shit about it made me feel horrible. But because of that, because people were talking so much shit, I kind of put even more effort into everything. So I ended up doing all of this research constantly, thinking that if I would just be a better caster, then maybe people would stop saying these things. So I just kind of strive to improve as a caster. But then eventually I realized, after a couple of times, that no matter how knowledgeable I am, and no matter how factual my things are that I'm saying, and no matter how good my casting is, there's still people who like just hate on me for being me. I'm still not 100% sure why that is. Like, I'm not sure what I ever did to anyone to be so like hateful. Because I understand if people don't like me, because not everyone likes everyone. Like, I don't think I'm like a super likable person, but I also don't think that I'm like a person that is super easy to hate. I don't know. I never really knew over the course of my streaming career and over the course of my casting career. I never really knew exactly what it is that is bothering people so much about me. And I kind of tried to think about it and to address all of those things in my head. Like, I was thinking, maybe if I change my personality a bit, like maybe if I do this or I do that. Like, I definitely am thinking about this a lot. Yeah. You tell me, guys. You tell me. Like, I'm never shit-talking anyone else. I'm always trying to be as polite as possible. I'm always trying to be as nice as possible. I'm always trying my best, honestly, to perform well as a caster. And this sounds like this whole pity thing now. I'm so sorry. I'm not looking for pity, honestly. This is just something that randomly came into my mind as I was talking about this. I'm very, very sorry. Please don't think that you need to like encourage me or that you need to pity me or whatever. We're gonna have to stop now. Either way, I'm good. Don't worry, I'm not like sad about these comments anymore and stuff, because I've been a streamer and I've been a kind of public person for so long that these kind of comments are just kind of normal to me nowadays. So I still, of course, think about it once in a while still. It's like, why do people hate me so much, as I just talked about? But I don't think that it really, really affects me that much anymore. So I'm okay. I just wanted to throw that out there, okay? Like, I'm not in like a really bad space or something, so maybe it sounded like that, I don't know. But yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Sorry that this kind of I rambled on about things. Maybe that's why people hate me, because because I end up talking a lot and rambling about random things. I don't know. Sorry. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. And if you ended up watching this whole video, then oh my god, shout out to you. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you liked this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and follow my YouTube channel. I post videos usually more often. I usually post guides, but I didn't really know what kind of guides to make recently, so there weren't that many videos on my channel. I'm sorry about that. I'm gonna definitely make some guides again in the future. Probably gonna do a lot of guides for Season 4 dungeons as well. Because there's going to be all of these old dungeons that come back, and I'm sure people forgot how half of them work, myself included. So I'm going to make some short guides for those as well. And yeah, if you want to watch my stream, it's over at twitch.tv/Naguura, and I stream Monday to Friday, raiding and plus, all that kind of stuff. Maybe some other games once in a while too. So yeah, catch me on my stream, and thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing day, and you're the best. Goodbye!